Great.
So welcome everyone to Girls Steam Ahead. We're nearing the home stretch of our workshop series. I'm Dr. Megan Federer with the Works, Ohio Center for History, Art, and Technology, and we are talking STEAM on Wednesdays this fall and meeting with women across diverse backgrounds and careers. We've talked with professional engineers, digital designers, looking at scientists, artists, and today we're looking at business and entrepreneurship. So we want to thank our sponsors, Facebook, the Heath Newark Licking County Port Authority, and the Park National Bank. So many thanks to them for helping to support our efforts here. And I'm excited today to introduce our two guests who have a lot of different experiences to share and how they ended up where they are, which I think for both of you from chatting before was not necessarily where we started. So I'd like to introduce Sarah Schwab and Denise Blankemeyer. They're going to tell us a little bit about themselves and before we get started with questions that we've compiled, as well as questions that you are welcome to submit in the chat box at any time. So Sarah, why don't we start with you because you're on the top of my screen.
Okay, good morning everybody and thank you for joining us. And I also like to thank our sponsors as well. What a great opportunity to be able to speak with all of you today. So a little bit about myself. I'm actually from Licking County. Our business has been in Licking County as the facility that it is since 1980. We officially came to Newark in 1955, and our business originated in Zanesville in 1928. So I'm the fourth generation Matesich to be running our business, which is a really proud honor to continue on our family's legacy and our commitment to community and providing beverage distribution, not only to Licking County, but 10 other counties. I did not get into the family business right out of college. I went to Newark Catholic High School, so anybody out in St. Francis or Newark Catholic that's on the call, awesome, go Green Wave. But I went to Wittenberg and didn't really want to pursue teaching. Sorry, teachers that are out there. I think the standards is something, teaching to the standard is something that really kind of discouraged me from continuing on, and I wanted a little bit more autonomy. And so I decided to work in higher education for about 4 years, while at the same time starting to talk to my dad about coming back into the family business. So it took a long time, 4 years pretty much, to convince my dad to give me the opportunity to come in and work at the bottom. But I think it was a great opportunity that he just didn't, say, yeah, come on, here's the keys to the building. I really had to work for it. And I really had to convince him this is something that I'm really interested in and I'm really passionate about, and I want to be a part of.
Thanks for sharing. We'll get more in depth into your path here in a little bit, but first I want to let Denise introduce herself and her background a little bit. So tell us everything about you.
Thanks, Megan. I don't think you want to know everything about me. Just a little bit though. I grew up in a very small town in Northwest Ohio, graduating class of 54. So very small town, small thinking. A lot of my family still live there, and growing up, I just always found myself with a love of design and not knowing exactly what career path I was going to take. Really didn't think about it that way. Was more focused on traveling and kind of exploring the world outside of my small little town that I grew up in. But fast forward till I was probably about 24, that love of design kind of came back around the corner. And I just fell back in love with it and realized that that was my true passion and joy in life, and kind of pursued that direction with my husband and started a business in 1995 with furniture and a retail store. And to this day, we still have that store going as far as manufacturing furniture, and also my love of cooking and design. We created a restaurant in Johnstown. So thrilled to be part of the Licking County group that's been, part of this journey and process, and feel really honored to be part of this call today.
Well, thank you both for so much for joining us. I'm really excited to dive into some of your choices that you made as a young student and how you maybe had some of the experiences that interested you in design, or along those paths that made you end up where you are today. And so I want to start out with a couple maybe general questions that we could use to help frame discussion that also might trigger some questions from our audience. One of the ones that I'd like to maybe talk about is thinking back to when you were younger. A lot of our audiences here are middle and high school youth, as well as young women professionals. What influenced you in pursuing a path down the route that you're in right now? Now, it could have been an individual, it could have been an experience. Denise, for example, you've mentioned how design was kind of a constant thread throughout your career path. What maybe triggered an interest in design?
Looking back, trying to kind of take myself back into those time frames, I just always loved to move furniture. Growing up in a household with opportunity to rearrange furniture was something that I just thought was common nature to everybody. And then the older I got, the more I realized that not everybody felt that way or could see furniture in a different direction as far as placement goes. So I just kind of took that into a world of, do I take this further and do I go to design school? At the end of the day, I just think that the path that I'm on, it just automatically just kind of opened itself up to it with having, customers come through the doors of our retail store. They were asking questions about like, how do you see my room working out for me? And I was able to kind of lay it out for them. So it was just kind of a journey that just naturally developed. And I just know that staying true to that passion, I always knew that that was kind of my guiding compass to wherever I was going to go in life, that was going to be part of it.
And now, Sarah, just to kind of tie that same question into you, it made me wonder, you grew up with the family business, you kind of were a little bit experienced with it. What were some of the thoughts that you had that made you maybe reconsider that as a pathway? Because you definitely deviated from that for a while in your education and career path. So kind of a little bit different than Denise's story, where design was that common thread. You kind of went back and forth a little bit around different areas. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. So I think the biggest thing is my sisters and I always had the opportunity when we were growing up to come in and work at the distribution facility here. And so that was anything from cleaning toilets and the gutters of the drains of the warehouse to the repack room to filing. So it was just a number of different things. And then the marketing side of it. So we have our own point of sale and print shop in-house. So there were a lot of different facets that we were able to do aside from just the trucking and operations side, and obviously the selling portion of our portfolio of products that we provide. So I think the biggest transition for me and kind of coming back around is it came back to the people. There were a lot of different things that my father, and I know that his father and his brothers and my great uncles work together to help build this company and make it the family business that it is. And a lot of those values, I think, maybe I took for granted, and I thought every business operated that way. And I think I really value going out and doing something different after graduating from college, because it gave me such a strong appreciation for what my family had built. And I think what I really wanted to do and what I kind of came back around to deciding what I wanted to pursue in this family business is it came down to people. It also came down to problem solving. I love being a critical thinker and working on a team and working with other people. And that is a huge part of what our business does. We value customer service. We value having a wide range of product portfolio. So all of our customers and retail partners have a lot of variety to choose from. So the number of supplier partners that we work with vary from global companies to small local companies. And so that brings a lot of different dynamics. And then there's the logistics aspect of routing efficiencies and warehousing management systems that come with what we do from a distribution standpoint. So there's a lot of critical thinking. There's a lot of teamwork and communication. And that is something that I thrived on, especially working in teams and participating in sports that I grew up doing my whole life.
I'm going to make you narrow it down just a little bit here with this follow-up. What is maybe the thing that makes you get up and be excited about going to your job? You mentioned a lot of things that really, like, I think drive a passion. You can just see yourself smiling every time you talk about what you do and the people you work with. What's your number one thing that makes you excited? You didn't know there was going to be a test today, did you?
No, I know. It's really hard to just pinpoint one thing.
It is.
It really is.
Because you had so many different pieces that I think that really shone through there for, what influenced you and continuing to influence.
I think ultimately for us, it comes down to the people. We are a family. Not only are we a family-owned business, but the people who work with us are family.
Mhm.
And a lot of them have been with us for decades and retire after 20, 30, 40 years. And I
Mhm.
think that says a lot about the culture and the environment that we have. So I think we're really invested in not just the products that we sell, but the people. That's one of the best investments we can make, is to hire and retain great people that can represent our company and our family.
And I think that actually transcends to Denise's experience with her companies as well. I know that you mentioned a story about how your employees also are family, and that who they are and how they engage with you is kind of the most important piece. Did you want to share anything about that type of culture in at Crowworks or at Ghostwriter?
Yeah, sure. And I think being partnered with Sarah, she and I are so like-minded when it comes to that, when it comes to the people, that it's a natural stem of who we are and what we do to bring into a business. And it's a little unique to the marketplace to think about that. I was really influenced with a book called The Dream Manager. And it talked about, basically it was a janitorial company, and it talked about the people and what their biggest struggles were. And the reality is that it could be something so little, but as long as they're heard and we're aware of it, that we can help solve that problem, they feel empowered and part of the team even more. They take ownership in it. So from a people standpoint, I think the people make you who you are. And if they're happy with what they do and where they're working, that's going to translate into their home life too. So it's kind of that balance, of that work-life balance. To be happy at one place, you can be happy at both.
That's great. So let's talk about maybe how you get to that point, because not only are you both women entrepreneurs who have the leadership positions in your respective companies, but you also work with a lot of employees. And so, it's not just your position, but also in general, when you're thinking about youth and where they want to go, what they want to do, what type of advice would you maybe give to a younger student, a student who maybe isn't quite sure what they want to do, how they could go about exploring different career paths, how they could be one of those people that is an immediate hire and somebody who stays for decades because of their personal characteristics?
Sarah, go ahead.
Okay. Wow, that's a loaded question. How much time do we have? Because I could talk for days about that. I think that one piece of advice that I have that was really impactful for me was to not be so narrowly focused on one activity or one group that you're participating in. Be open to trying new things, especially things you aren't good at, because you're going to learn a lot about yourself, and you're going to learn a lot about other people. Peer-to-peer leadership, I think, is one of the best opportunities that you can take advantage of, whether it be in sports or in drama or in band, or in 4-H. I think just getting out and being around other people who are either different than you, who think differently, is very important to your development as a leader and an entrepreneur. So you need to know a lot about who you are and what you value and what matters to you, but also be a great listener. And leaders take the time to listen and allow others to speak, and maybe step back and follow, to be a great collaborator. And I think entrepreneurs have to have kind of those priorities in terms of being an effective listener and a critical thinker, to be a great team player. So if you have the willingness to try new things, to be uncomfortable, to fail, because it's going to happen and you're going to make mistakes, trying new things is my biggest piece of advice.
Great advice. Denise, what about you? If you had to think about a piece of advice you would tell a youth today, or even tell your younger self about, how to explore and pursue different opportunities, anything that you might say?
Yeah, similar to Sarah's, I think it comes down to taking risks, and most entrepreneurs are high risk takers. And if you can put yourself out there without thinking about anybody judging you or anything beyond trying something new, to go for it. No risk, no reward. And it's one of those things that you are going to find yourself coming into situations when you do put yourself out there that you either A, hate, or B, feel like you're failing at. But if you feel that way, then maybe take a different direction the next time and go in something completely different. My daughter, who's a freshman in college, she used to ask me all the time, Mom, what do you think I'm good at? What do you think I'm good at? I don't know what I'm good at. Because I think she was starting to think, well, what am I going to do with myself when I become an adult? And there's times where you want to encourage them to pursue and to do anything that they can possibly dream up, sky's the limit, dream big. And there's a lot of truth to that. So it's just a matter of prioritizing and really just putting yourself out there and trying new things. I know right now it's hard to do that, but even just being curious, if something comes to you in your mind and say, I'd like to learn more about that, go for it, try it, do it. And I think if you surround yourself with people that are entrepreneurs and, like to try new adventures, surround yourself with those type of people and they'll continue to encourage you to do that.
So there's some common threads there with the idea of taking risks and not being afraid to fail, right? So the challenges that you face are going to be kind of what shapes your direction, and there's no opportunity to grow as either a company or as an individual if you're not willing to necessarily take those risks. So what do you think maybe some of the challenges or risks that you faced? A challenge that maybe we failed at. Sarah, you mentioned failure is something that can have high rewards, even because you can learn so much from it. So we all know that failure is just the first step to moving in a different direction. So maybe some challenges that we faced, or failures like that stands out as epic in your mind, but that you're able to really grow from. I'm just thinking, how can we help our next generation of entrepreneurs really grow and benefit from your experience?
I'll try to quickly, because I have both an internal and an external experience. And I think it is easy to be hard on yourself. And I think my biggest struggle with getting back to the family business was, I'm an education major and I'm going to get into the beer distribution business. Like, who am I to think that I could do this? And so I think part of that is this self-talk that you have with yourself, knowing that you can do it. And I was fortunate enough that the way that I came into the business, I was kind of on a 5-year plan to really do everything from every department from the bottom up. And before I could move to another department in the business, the person who was the head of that department basically had a sign off. And my dad had no control, no say on anything. It was really up to the leaders of our company to make sure that I was prepared. And it was a great experience. And it helped, I think, not only validate for myself that I am capable. And I knew I was coming in, but I think part of that is you have that external stigma of, I didn't major in accounting and I didn't major in business. And I don't think it really matters what you major in. All that matters is that you have a lot of the key core principles that we've talked about here today. So that's more of an internal struggle. I think externally, I really messed up big time when I was in our warehouse department. And so we pre-sell our orders every day. I'll try to do this quickly out in the field. And then we process them in the late evening, about 4 o'clock. We build load sheets, and then we have pickers who go out and pick the pallets and put them on the truck. So I was building a truck for one of our drivers the next day. And I happened to pull the wrong load sheet. It was the load sheet for the day prior. So, and all the accounts are different each day. And so when he got there the next morning, we didn't realize it until we checked the load sheet to the invoices that the driver checks his truck in the morning. And we had to rebuild the entire truck. And I messed up big time. And so it probably took over an hour for them to go out and pick close to 1,000 cases and put them on the truck. And when I came in later that morning, about 8 a.m., because our trucks get out early in the morning, I heard about it. And I immediately was like, oh my gosh, I messed up big time. And I called the route driver, and of course it goes directly to voicemail. So I had to leave him a voicemail, and I told the warehouse manager I want to know exactly when he gets in, because I want to meet him off his truck and apologize. And of course, it's kind of one of our most challenging drivers that you may have out there. So he gave me a hard time about it. And I think you just kind of have to have thick skin when you make mistakes, be willing to admit them, own up to it, learn from it, and then move on, and try not to make them again.
Denise, how about from your experiences, risks that you took specifically, or a failure that really helped you shape the way you approach your business or opportunities?
Yeah, I think self-doubt is the biggest one. You know, you're your own worst enemy all the time. It seems like, you know, everybody around you thinks you're amazing, great, you got this, you're going to do amazing at it. But then you come back internally and say, I don't know if I can do this. So my biggest challenge, I think, that I've had up to this point in business is we were going through a transition period from our finance team. And when we started out, it was just, you know, a small group of us. So as a business owner, you have to wear a lot of hats, and you very quickly figure out what you like to do, what you're really good at doing, and things that you absolutely hate doing. And those are the first people that you hire for. But I found myself in a position where I had to kind of do the HR, the finance, and the people piece of it all under one umbrella. And, you know, I was just kind of going through the motions, doing what I knew I needed to do. But when we got to a point where we were hiring a lot of new people, there's a lot of new hire paperwork that has to take place. And a lot of it is just, you know, from a federal down to the local level of the taxes and all of that in between. There was one particular step that I completely forgot about, and that was like capturing a school tax for the employees. And it hit me about 3 weeks after I hired about 10 people. And I just had that panic of like, oh my God, what is going to happen here? So it's just a matter of like, okay, that happened. Let's take a deep breath. Let's figure it out. Go back to the beginning, call the right people, apologize profusely, and hopefully it's okay. So after that all, you know, went down, it took a toll on just my mental being of stress, you know, thinking through 1,000 times, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? And just as soon as it was taken care of, that was my next hire, was a finance person that had HR experience and background. So just finding the right people to kind of create that entire, I guess, the company as a whole, looking at that. And I think I had thankfully the foresight to know that that was a definite need, and it kind of took a jump on the priority list of people that we needed to hire.
Always great advice to know your strengths. That's one that has come up many times throughout this entire series, is know that and capitalize on that, and make sure you have the support network to fulfill the areas that you need. So I'm kind of curious with you know, the lessons you've learned, and being a woman who is an entrepreneur and is in business, what your next big step is. So or what you still see ahead of yourself in your career. You have plenty of time left to make massive changes or stay the course. Maybe there's another branch of business. I mean, you've got furniture and restaurants covered. I don't know what's next, Denise. What's number 3 going to be? or what we're going to do here. So what's coming up next for you? What are
It's a good thing my leadership team is not listening to this, because they're just like, can we just take a pause on what we're doing right now? So, I'll be okay with that just for, from saying it out loud, but in the back of my mind, there's so much more to do. And eventually, it will definitely take place and happen, but just trying to be able to stay on course without going too fast, too quick is somewhat of a challenge. I don't know if it's just in an entrepreneur's blood, but I definitely have that in my blood where I just want to do it all right now. But from a design and from the whole process of, the people piece of it, there's definitely more to do. I see a cafe and another restaurant concept in our future. And even, with living in Johnstown, in that small town, there's definitely some things that are missing that I think the people need and would love to have. And we want to be part of that and changing that community and, allowing the community to be even more proud of it than they currently are, and to be able to participate in what we do.
It'll be exciting to see what new ventures you come up with. I know that I am all for another restaurant concept.
We'll have to take a poll at some point. What does everybody want?
Laura, what about you in your career? So what do you see as maybe, the next 10, 20, 30, you don't get to retire, years down the road? It is a family business. What is the legacy you want to leave?
I think from a short-term perspective, I think the biggest thing right now for us is, and one of my goals is to try to reduce the amount of paperwork that we touch and be more electronic. So again, when you've been doing this for multiple generations, sometimes change is hard. And getting people to buy into transitioning to sometimes efficiency can be a buzz killer. But looking for those efficiencies where we can provide better information quicker, faster, and get to our accounts quicker, faster, in a routing manner that makes sense for us as a company to be profitable, but also at the same time continue to provide the level of service that we want to, and continue to be the leader within our industry, within our territory that we service, which is 10 counties. Again, we're a very regulated industry, so there's a lot of things when it comes to on a federal level, the TTB standpoint, or the Division of Liquor Control and the Ohio Revised Code. There's a lot of different things that we have to be aware of when we go to market. So we are landlocked unless we try to expand or buy other neighboring distributorships. That's kind of geographically how we could potentially get bigger. Those opportunities don't necessarily come up very often. But if something would happen, I think that's something that we need to take care of our back-end stuff, which we're doing right now, to create those better, stronger efficiencies by utilizing technology to be able to expand if we did grow our territory. So we're just really working on kind of cleaning up the in-house stuff right now. Then if the opportunity would come available to expand our territory, I think that would be outstanding. And then we're always looking at new supplier partners. So we get a combination of people knocking on our door and people that we actively court. So it's a two-way street between alcoholic, non-alcoholic, energy drinks, sodas, waters, coconut waters, you name it. There's all different types of products that we see. And then there's also a slew of products outside of just liquids. So there's a lot of opportunity. I think it's just making sure it's the right fit. And making sure that there's a place in our market that our retailers and our customers that we service, it makes sense for them as well.
Good insight into both of the kind of the mindsets and models for your two organizations. Now, this is Girls Steam Ahead, so I don't want to leave out the fact that we are talking to two women leaders in their field, and would love to hear a little bit from you on your perspective of being a woman entrepreneur, a woman in business, and any experiences that you have or challenges that you've faced by being a female leader in your field. So have there been obstacles that you've been able to overcome, stories that you can share about your path currently, or where your path or where you currently are?
I'll start with this one, Sarah. For me, it's been interesting because I've been in business with my husband. So, you know, being a partner with him, there's always the making sure that we're each doing what we love to do individually, first and foremost, but being able to support each other along the way. And I found over the years that a couple times where being the female partner, I feel like sometimes I can be like number two instead of number one, which it is what it is. So every time I felt that way, I found myself doing another business. So for instance, in 2012, I started another company called Recreation, which kept with that design theme, but it was home staging, and did that for quite a while. And then in turn, about 3 years later, started a coaching business, a business coaching business for professionals. So again, staying true to what I know that I love to do and being passionate about what I'm doing. But being a female, there's definitely adversity with that, but just knowing that you constantly have to put yourself out there and make yourself known, so you don't get forgotten or lost in the shuffle. But you know, I think there's so many groups out there, and I think women are extremely powerful and can leave a lasting mark just as strong as men, if not better.
Sarah, how about you?
Man, I just want to commend Denise, because I think that we both work in industries that are very male dominated. So it is somewhat rare sometimes, especially in manufacturing or in distribution for myself, to find women in our positions. I really just have to appreciate my father for being very progressive, because I think he offered the opportunity for us when we were in junior high to speak with a few other women-owned distributorships in the country that he had relationships with, just so we could speak to another female about our industry and what it means to be a woman in our industry. And I think that was extremely insightful. It was empowering. And I think that's one thing that we have to do as a female cohort, is continue to support and encourage women with whatever industry you want to pursue, to continue pursuing your passion. I think that there are going to be roadblocks no matter what, that are put in your way. And I think you just have to find a way to approach them in the best manner that you can. I think that there are traditional norms that we have to challenge. And when I came back from maternity leave after having my second child, one of our suppliers kind of questioned my ability to lead and manage our company and how I would manage it all. And I kind of took a deep breath and just said, you know, will you ask that of my same male counterpart? And he said, he kind of backed off a little bit. And I think that's important, that we kind of push back and we challenge to challenge the status quo. And, you know, are you asking the same questions that you would of my male peers? And it's okay to ask those questions, and to kind of push back a little bit, because we are capable. We can manage. You can find a way. You can balance it. And it takes a little creative work, and it takes sometimes a strong partner. Like Denise has probably an outstanding husband, that they provide a great balance in their family and their work life. And I think whoever you choose as a partner or as a spouse, that you have to make sure that they're going to support you, and that you have the same mission and values in what you want to accomplish.
So as we come to a close here, I want to reflect a little bit on some of the things that you both just said, and also give an opportunity for any questions to be submitted via the chat box. You can type those in. But we've talked a lot about some of these, you know, that advice or experiences that you would give to almost anyone entering the field, whether they're young, new, old, or anything. Is there any type of advice that we are leaving out for students or teachers in terms of considering career paths, pursuing options, and really, you know, like we said, being open to opportunities and how they might find those opportunities in our communities?
Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, I think that there are a plethora of opportunities, and I think you just have to be willing to raise your hand and ask. I think your teachers obviously are an outstanding resource, but also your guidance counselors. There are a number of non-for-profits, internships, National Honor Society. There's a lot of the works in and of itself is a great resource, and they have outstanding connections to put you in touch with people in a number of different fields if you are curious or want to know more information about. We have some outstanding companies right here in Licking County, between not just Owens Corning, but a lot of new companies that have come out into our western portion of Licking County, but also out in Heath, between Carvana and I think it's Nature One. There's just so many different smaller companies, bigger companies, manufacturing, distribution, logistics. I mean, there's a lot of different things that I think that you can take advantage of, or somebody who knows somebody who you could meet with to learn more about that industry. So I think you have to just be willing to ask. Be willing to ask for help, ask for resources, talk to your teachers, talk to your parents, peers. They're going to be able to help guide you in the right direction. It's a great community to be a part of. And I think Licking County has, there's a lot of growth opportunity really happening right now in our county. And I think we're poised to really build a great foundation for the future.
Denise, any last pieces of things that we're leaving out from your perspective?
Yeah, I think Sarah hit on every single one that I was thinking of, but it's just, as a student, you're in a circle where there's everybody that you're around. Even if you're not in school right now, there's people that know you, the people that want to help you and to encourage you. So just, as Sarah said, just reach out, ask questions, be curious, talk to your parents' friends. And there's a network of people out there that would love to come alongside any of you girls or boys if you're on. I'm not sure if we have just girls or not, but come alongside of you and just help encourage you and guide you through your high school and into your transition years.
Yeah, I agree with Denise. I think the biggest thing is be curious. There are no dumb questions, and we tell that to everybody here. You only know what you don't know. And so be willing to ask questions and be curious.
That is a great close to our session here, to just stay curious and take risks, I think is a common theme for what we're talking about here today. So I'm not seeing any additional questions from our audience, and I just want to make sure to thank you both for sharing your stories. It was so fun to kind of hear a little bit about how you got where you are and the advice that you have for youth and young women, young men who are excited about their own ideas and about trying out new things and experiences. So we're really thrilled that you could join us for this session of Girls Steam Ahead, and hope that you and all of our guests can join us for our final session next week, which will be with science, research, and higher education, with 2 female professors who will be kind of sharing their work and their experience from Denison University. So I hope you all enjoyed our program, and thank you so much again. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you, Megan.
Thanks, Megan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.